Hello everyone, a hearty welcome to our YouTube channel CS Sansaar. I'm Mona from CS Sansaar and today we are going to talk about why commodities are rising rapidly. It's a pleasure to welcome Mr. Harseel sir. Thank you sir for joining us today and giving us your valuable time. Before we begin, I request all my viewers to like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. Now I would like to invite Mr. Harseel sir to share his thoughts on today's topic.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Let's see why commodities are rising rapidly. So, in the 1971, US dollar was backed by gold under the Bretton Woods system. So, 35 ounce of gold will be forming 1 US dollar. Dollar became a fiat currency in the decade of 1970s, and people have loosened value on gold and they have put more trust on dollar. Let's go some more on the history. In 1940s, Bretton Woods system occurred in the US, where every country decided that they are they are having the monetary policy um, on the backing of the gold asset. So the country which is having a gold reserves more, they can print more fiat currency, and the country which is having a less gold reserve, they can print less of their currency. But coming till 1970s, US has printed more dollars in comparison to their gold reserves. So due to this, inflation has started rising in the United States of America. So all the commodities prices have started rising very rapidly. Yeah, if we talk about a certain period from 1975 to 1980, silver has risen around 525 percentage in this 5 years, and gold has also given a very good amount of return in this period. US has uh, hitted inflation very high during the period of 1979 to 1980. It has touched around 13 percentage. And the causes of this much very high inflation was, first of all, Vietnam war spending. US government was spending very massively in sponsoring the Vietnam War. Then the second thing, all crises were going on around the globe, and Iranian crisis were also there during that time period. Third thing, US was having a very loose monetary policy. Interest rates were down very much. So because of all these reasons, inflation has touched 13 percentage in 1979 to 1980. And because of this much amount of inflation, purchasing power of the US dollar was dropping very rapidly. So what was the Federal Reserve's response in comparison to this situation? So first of all, to combat inflation, Federal Chair uh, Paul Walker raised interest rate very rapidly to 15 percentage in the start of the year 1980s. And due to this, people have again restored their faith into the US dollar. And till this time period, silver has also gone into the bubble. Why bubble in silver? Let's see a history of silver. So during the period from 1973 to 1979, this Hunt brother in the United States of America has cornered around 33 percentage of the world's global supply of silver. So why they have purchased this much amount of silver during this time period? Because they were scared that the US dollar value is decreasing day by day. So because of this fear, they have purchased this much amount of silver. And not only they purchased physical silver, they have also started purchasing future contracts in the COMEX. So the price of the silver has risen very rapidly. In 1973, the price was 1.5 US dollar, and that has been increased to $50 till 1980 because of this massive purchase by the Hunt brothers. So what happened in 1980 when Paul Walker raised interest rates very fast? S- The silver has started collapsing due to rise in interest rate, and the COMEX, which was allowing trading in the futures of the silver, they have started uh, rising margin requirements for holding the future. Due to this, price crashed of silver from $50 to $10 per ounce within few weeks, and Hunt brothers were facing a loss of $1.7 billion. So this was the massive boom we have seen in the silver in the decade of 1970s. So what's the similarities between 1970s bull run of commodities and 2020s bull run which is currently going on in our markets? So first of all, we can see in this presentation slide that in the 1970s US was sponsoring Vietnam war, and it was incurring fiscal deficit for sponsoring this war. Similar situation we are finding today also. US is printed trillions of dollar in the COVID-19 pandemic, and again it is sponsoring Russia Ukraine war, it is also sponsoring Israel Iran war. So we are seeing some similarities between 1970 and 2020s in the terms of war. Second thing, in the 1970s US M2 money supply grew very rapidly, and due to this inflation has also soared. And the same thing we are seeing in this decade also in 2020s. Federal Reserve and European central banks both have expanded their balance sheets by 100% in 2020, and due to this massive liquidity comes into the markets, and all the stocks, cryptos, all the asset classes are rising very rapidly. Third thing, inflation peaked 13% in 1979 US bubble. In the 2020, we have also seen 9% inflation peak in the year 2022, which is highest in the 40 years. This is also one of the common thing which we have seen in 1970s and 2020s. Fourth thing, in the year 1970s, there were supply shocks of oil, loose monetary policy, and supply constraint of commodity. Similar thing we are seeing now also. US is sponsoring Russia-Ukraine war. We are seeing recently that physical demand of silver has risen very much, and there are some supply constraints. So similar situation we have seen currently also, like we have seen in 1970s. What is the energy shocks? So in the year 2020, in the year 2022, we have seen that Russia was supplying gas to Europe, and after the war started, Russia and Ukraine, Russia stopped supplied natural gas to the Europe, and due to this, the prices of the gas has increased too much into the Europe. And similar situation we have seen in terms of oil in 1970s. Global cut in the oil and oil crisis were going on in the year 1970s. And if we talk about the monetary policy, people have lose faith in the dollars. If we are also listening from quite a some time period that uh, de-dollarization theme is going on, BRICS is forming one part of the currency, and people are trusting less on dollars. And the reason behind that was during the year 2022, US has freezed Russia's $400 million. So world over, all the central banks has started having trust deficit on the US. And in the 1970s, President Nixon ended this gold standard by turning to uh, by investors turn to gold and silver. जैसे जैसे लोग ज्यादा गोल्ड एंड सिल्वर की तरफ जा रहे थे, वैसे ही निक्सन ने इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ा लिया और वहां से गोल्ड स्टैंडर्ड उन्होंने खत्म कर दिया. अगर वो चीज, इफ वी सी दैट थिंग इन द this period, people are turning more into crypto, gold, and other real assets. In 1970s, Hunt brothers has had tried to corner silver for fearing dollar collapse. And same thing in this decade, we are seeing people are going more towards crypto as well. In 1970s, Paul Walker has raised interest rate and crushed inflation. In 2020s, we have seen Jerome Powell has risen interest rate in the year 2022 to 5.5%. So short-term pain and long-term stability was the concept of Fed in 1970s, and in 2020 similar thing has played by Jerome Powell as well. If we look at out the geopolitical and structural similarities, it is also same. In 1970s, Cold War was going on between US and Russia. In 2020, again, it is going on between US and China. And at that time, new global player was Japan. Japan was emerging economy at that time, And currently in the 2020s scenario, we are seeing rising of BRICS, India, and other GCC economies. Why commodities might soar if 1970s like कंडीशन रीअकर्स, अगर सिमिलर चीज होती है तो क्यों कमोडिटीज यहाँ से और बढ़ना चाहिए? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, it's an inflation hedge. Commodities are the real assets, while the money which we are using, it's a fiat money, it can be printed more, so it loses value, while commodities are the natural assets, it will never lose its value. So this is one of the main reasons that it gives protection against inflation. Second thing, supply shocks. Whenever we are seeing that there is a limited supply of any commodities, like which we are seeing currently in silver or in gold or any other crude oil or any commodities, at that time price of that commodities rises very rapidly. So that is also one of the protection which we are getting it. Third thing, liquidity and money printing. Central banks all over the world are printing money crazily, so the value of fiat will definitely go down and commodities are naturally will go up. Many portfolios, many big financial institutions have started recommending that the investors should have some part of their holdings in commodities also. Like Morgan Stanley recently said that every individual's portfolio should have 20% of the commodities, like mixture of gold and the mixture of silver. So thank you so much for providing me an opportunity to speak. If you are having any questions or any doubts related to this topic, please feel to reach out to me. And if you want any other video from me or on any other topic or anything like that, please please comment on the channel. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving it understanding it. And as I told you guys earlier, to like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel. So thank you, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you so much.